Well, it's official. I finally did the thing. I finally watched 2023's Barbie. The film was released on July 20th and is still in theaters, still making bank every single week, but it is also available now to rent or buy digitally, so I decided to watch it at home. You might be wondering why I haven't already watched this movie, and to be honest, I don't really have an excuse, but I hope it's enough that I'm reviewing it for you now.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Getting into the plot of the film, there's kind of a lot going on in the movie, but there's three main stories that we follow throughout. The first and main story that we follow involves stereotypical Barbie going through an existential crisis. Then there's the story of the Kens, which I really don't want to spoil too much. I feel like a lot of people might already know, but for the people that don't, I'll just say that they're going through a bit of a crisis as well. And then there's a nice mother-daughter story in there, them trying to rekindle their relationship. And for the most part, that's what's going on in the movie. But now to get into this insanely talented cast, I'm going to be mentioning 8 of the cast members and who they're playing. Then after that, I'll fire off a list of names playing Barbies and Kens. Starting with the film's narrator, yes, you heard me right, the film's narrator, we have none other than Helen Mirren. As the OG Barbie, or stereotypical Barbie in this case, we have Margot Robbie. As her Ken, we have Ryan Gosling. As the mother, Gloria, we have America Ferrera. As her daughter, Sasha, we have Ariana Greenblatt. Will Ferrell plays the Mattel CEO. Kate McKinnon plays Weird Barbie. And Michael Cera plays Alan. But starting with the list of the Barbies, we have Issa Rae, Alexandra Shipp, Emma Mackey, Hari Nef, Sharon Rooney, Dua Lipa, Anna Cruz Kane, and Ritu Arya. As far as the Kens go, I do have fewer to mention, but we do have Simu Liu, Kingsley Ben Adir, Scott Evans, Nakuti Gatwa, I'm definitely saying that name wrong, I apologize, and one other cast member that I'm not going to mention, but you probably already know about. But with all of that out of the way, it's time to get into my review. Like my normal reviews, I'll be getting into the positives first and then into the negatives. Then I'll end my review with my ranking. So without further ado, let's get into my review for
Ideas live forever.
Getting into my positives, I'm going to kind of spoil the rest of this review by saying most of this movie is a positive for me, which, if I'm being honest, is not what I was expecting to say about this film prior to watching it. But the first positive that stands out to me is the performances from the cast. Obviously have to start with Margot Robbie, and she's obviously fantastic in the role of stereotypical Barbie. She nails the humor that the role requires of her, but what she also nails is the emotion that I was not expecting from her character and the film in general. In fact, she does get a fair amount of comedy, but I would almost say she gets more emotion with her character than anything. And that's something I really enjoyed, that's something I was here for, and I loved her performance. On top of that, I feel like it's hard to imagine what it would be like had Margot Robbie not been casted as the main Barbie in the film. And honestly, the same goes for Ryan Gosling. It would be hard to imagine him not playing the main Ken in this film. Where Margot Robbie has more emotion with her character, he has far more comedy. And what comes along with that is what is arguably the funniest part of the entire film, which is just watching Ken be Ken. I don't think there was one single Ken joke that didn't make me laugh throughout the movie. Ryan Gosling is pure gold and one of the best performances in the film. The other background Barbies and Kens also do fantastic in the film and fit within the world the film creates. As far as the human characters go, Will Ferrell is obviously fun as the Mattel CEO. But the two that really stand out to me are Ariana Greenblatt and America Ferrera. Ariana Greenblatt is an actor I've seen in a handful of other movies and TV shows in the past. She's kind of known for playing younger versions of other characters. But in here, I think she does fantastic. She's definitely one of those actors on the rise you gotta keep your eyes on because she'll be doing bigger and better things in the future. Now, as far as America Ferrera goes, I kind of hate to spoil this, but in the second to third act, she has this great monologue. Honestly, brought me to tears and one of the best scenes in the whole movie. So I think that's enough to tell you right there that she also does fantastic. As a whole, when it comes to the performances in the film, it feels like every actor is giving 110%, while also having an absolute blast because seriously, this movie looks like it was so much fun to be a part of. But the next positive is going to be the story, or stories, I should say. As I said before, there's a lot of different things going on in the film, at least 3 stories going on simultaneously. And I think all stories work together and on their own, and they especially work the most when it feels the most profound to me, usually having to do with stereotypical Barbie's journey. Without giving too much away, a big theme of the story has to do with being alive and being human, being a man or being a woman. And those more profound elements, when taken seriously, provided some of the best moments in the entire film. But aside from the more profound and more emotional elements, I also really love the world/character building for Barbie Land and the Barbies and Kens that live in it. The way their world works is so fun and weird and makes it really hard to not want to go there. But that kind of leads me to the other story element that I really liked, and that's the story with the Kens. And again, I'm not really going to mention what happens there for the sake of spoilers, but it is crazy, it's fun, and hilarious. Getting into my next positive, which is going to be the costume and set design. As far as the costume designs go, oh my gosh, they deserve all the awards in the world for them. The costumes are so vibrant and elaborate. Whoever was in charge of making the outfits for this movie just went completely off. And as far as set designs go, I don't know if there's an award for that, but it needs to be created for this movie here because, oh my god, these sets are so elaborate, they're so creative, and so pink. On top of that, I'm pretty sure most, if not all of these sets are completely practical, little to no green screen in the entire film. Just goes to show how filled to the brim this movie is with creativity and imagination, and I am 100% here for it. Now, if I'm being honest, I could talk about positives with this movie all day, but at that point I'd be rambling, so I'm going to cut myself off with one more positive. And that positive is the soundtrack. I very much enjoyed the soundtrack within the context of the film. It added a lot to the scenes that they were in. They were very high energy, most of them at least. If I'm being completely honest, most of the artists on this soundtrack I would not listen to outside of the soundtrack. There's been a few songs from this movie that have come on the radio and I've changed the station. But like I said, within the context of the film, they do work for me. But the one big song that works for me within the context of the film and outside of the film is What Was I Made For by Billie Eilish. Outside of the film, it is a very beautiful ballad from Billie Eilish. She has such an incredible voice. The song gives me chills every time I listen to it. But within the context of the film, the way it's used, oh my gosh, it emotionally wrecked me. So I guess one of the biggest takeaways for me when it comes to the music is I'm glad I did not watch this in the theater. But I know it's also on the soundtrack. I can't forget to mention I'm Just Ken. That song is perfection. But alright, I'm going to cut myself off from gushing about this movie for a minute to get into some negatives. And if I'm being completely honest, I only have one big negative with this film, and that's the pacing. Now, the pacing throughout a majority of the film is pretty quick, and I would say that works throughout a majority of the film, but when it doesn't work is when Barbie and Ken are going into the real world. I just feel like there's not enough time spent specifically with Barbie in the real world getting that human experience. Had a little more time been spent on those elements to flesh them out a little bit more, give them more time to breathe, I would honestly have no complaints about this movie. But that's all I have for my review, so now it's time to get into my ranking. And since this film is available both in theaters and at home, I'm going to be ranking the film twice. Once under the theatrical film ranking, and another time under the at-home film ranking. So as far as my theatrical ranking of 2023's Barbie goes, I'm going to go ahead and give the film a standard ticket. And as far as my at-home ranking goes, I'm going to give the film a stream it. Now, as far as that theatrical ranking, I would give it a premium ticket, but this film has already made billions of dollars and honestly doesn't need to make more, especially with the strikes still going on. But just because there's still strikes going on doesn't mean you can't support your local theater, so if you're wanting to go check it out in the theater, at least go and buy some concessions. And as far as that at-home ranking goes, I gave it a stream it. I would recommend waiting until it hits a streaming service. Not because it's not worth buying, but because it's currently $25 right now to rent or $30 to buy. And for a movie that's already made billions of dollars, once again, I don't think that's very fair. There's lots of people that have waited to watch this movie, and to charge them extra for not going to the theater when you've already made billions of dollars for a studio that's still under the strikes just feels a little bit icky. But those are just my thoughts on 2023's Barbie, and I'd love to see yours down in the comments below. Have you seen the film? Tell me, what did you think? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Are you in the middle? Have you not seen it? Are you planning on watching it in the theater, at home, or not at all? Really, any comments you have for me, I would love to hear from you. I respond to as much as I can. But do me a favor and leave a pink thumbs up on this video, surf the subscribe button, and ring the bell for your own Barbie dream house.